It started in the outer rings of the Tyros system, where the air never quite smelled clean and the sky was always a murky orange. The auction grounds of Curulon 9 were buzzing, a chaotic mix of alien dialects, the screech of transport skiffs, and the constant crackle of intercoms announcing new arrivals. Slavers, collectors, and bounty brokers haggled in shadows, eyes always on the prize, sentient life. Cade Mercer wasn't supposed to be there. Not really. He had come to scout supplies, maybe trade his old pulse rifle for a better rig, then bounce back to his ship before the place infected him with whatever diseases clung to its rusting metal bones. But then he saw her. Caged. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't crying. She wasn't begging. That alone made Cade stop in his tracks. Most of the beings in the auction were terrified, desperate to escape the nightmare. But this one, she stood tall in that oversized cage like she owned it. Like she was just letting them borrow her time. Her skin was a deep, almost luminescent green. Hair white like bleached bone cascaded down her back. Torn rags clung to her body in a mockery of dignity, but her eyes, those violet eyes, burned with something Cade couldn't name. Defiance. Power. Fury. The tag on the cage read simply, Untamable. The crowd gave her a wide berth, even the bravest of slavers hesitant to approach. She had taken down 3 handlers in transit, they said. Broke one's neck with her bare hands. Bit off the finger of a trader who tried to collar her. No one wanted to be next. But Cade, damn him, stepped closer. You planning to buy that? A voice sneered behind him. A squat, beady-eyed alien with more metal than skin clicked his mandibles. Waste of creds. She's feral. Probably infected. Cade didn't answer. He was already doing the math in his head. His entire stash wouldn't be enough. Not even close. He could trade his ship, but that was suicide. He could barter his weapons. His armor. His reputation. That would still come short. Still, he stepped forward when the auctioneer, a slick-tongued slow-thigh with a love for drama, called for final offers. Silence. Then one voice, everything I've got. The crowd turned. The slow-thigh's eye stalks twitched. Everything? You'll be broke. I know, Cade replied. But I want her. The gavel fell. And just like that, the untamable alien girl belonged to him. Or so he thought. She didn't speak on the way back to his ship. Didn't struggle either. Just walked, spine straight, head high, like she was escorting him. Cade knew better than to try small talk. The air around her buzzed with tension, electric and cold. Back aboard the ****, Cade led her to the crew quarters and gestured to a bunk. You can rest here. No locks. No chains. She tilted her head, those piercing eyes narrowing. Why? Cade shrugged. You're not a prisoner. A long silence followed. Then why buy me? Cade didn't have an answer. Not one that made sense. She sat, but didn't relax. My name is Ruthless. That was the beginning. Over the next few cycles, Cade learned quickly that Ruthless was more than just untamable, she was dangerous. But not in the way the auctioneers thought. She didn't lash out or break things for fun. She watched. Learned. Every corner of the ship, every function, every system. Her intelligence was terrifying. He caught her once rerouting power from the medbay to the engine core. Planning something, he asked. She looked at him calmly. Just testing. I want to know how fast your ship can run. Cade stared. Why? Because they'll come for me. She wasn't wrong. 2 nights later, a bounty ping lit up the nav console like a dying star. Her face. Her name. 50,000 credits. Dead or alive. Cade stared at the numbers. Then at her. I should turn you in. You won't. He hated that she was right. The next few days were a blur of systems jumps, decoys, and fake transponder codes. Cade pushed the **** harder than he ever had. Ruthless helped, she knew things he didn't, alien tech tricks that let them vanish from standard scans. In the small spaces between chaos, they talked. Or argued. Or something in between. She told him of her home planet, Virexa, a jungle world ravaged by resource wars. Her people, once proud, were hunted now, seen as dangerous, exotic, rare. Perfect prey. I won't be prey, she said one night, fire in her voice. Not again. Cade believed her. But belief wasn't enough when the bounty hunters found them. It happened at a refueling station in the Mardu belt. Quiet place, usually. Not that night. 3 ships. 1 silent comlink. No demands. The attack was sudden and brutal. Explosives rocked the **Asterion star. Cade barely got the shields up. Rylith was already gone from the bridge, moving like a ghost. When he found her again, 2 bounty hunters were already dead. One had a crushed throat. The other had a blade buried in his skull. Rylith turned to him, drenched in blood that wasn't hers. They won't stop. Cade nodded. Then we don't stop either. They became something new after that. Not just fugitive and buyer. Not even allies. Partners, maybe. Survivors. 2 lives intertwined by blood and fire. Rylith never lost that wild edge, never fully let down her guard. But sometimes, when the stars passed too slowly outside the viewport, she sat beside him. Silent. Just there. And sometimes, Cade caught her watching him with something that wasn't hate. But whatever they were becoming, the galaxy wasn't done with them yet. The real storm was still coming. The stars ahead shimmered with false promise. For every system they passed, every moon they slipped by unnoticed, Cade could feel the net tightening. Rylith said little, but her tension was visible in every movement. She always moved like a predator, like she expected a trap in every shadow. Cade upgraded the ship's stealth core. Burned through every last credit. He didn't tell Rylith when he sold his plasma rifle, a gift from his brother, long gone. Didn't say a word when he dismantled the cryo chamber to trade for quantum navscramblers. He just did it. Because the look in her eyes the night they were ambushed hadn't left him. Fear. Not for herself. For him. It changed things. They drifted in the ghost lanes of the Ophing cluster, uncharted trade routes used by smugglers and exiles. The **Asterion** had seen better days. The hull groaned with every turn, and Cade had to reroute half the ship's life support just to keep the cloaking field stable. You should leave me, Rylith said one night, staring out the viewport. Her voice was steady, but quiet. They'll track me. They always do. Cade leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I'm not leaving. Her eyes slid to him. You're a fool. Probably. She smirked. The first time he'd seen her almost smile. Then the ship's AI chirped. A message. Encrypted. High priority. Cade opened it, expecting another bounty update. It wasn't. It was a warning from an old contact in the Legion fleet. A shadow group was funding the bounty. Not a rogue slaver faction. Not pirates. The Dominion. That changed everything. The Dominion ran the core systems. A ruthless conglomerate with its fingers in every government, every syndicate, every fleet. If they wanted Rylith, there was a reason. And it wasn't just because she was strong or exotic. She knew something. Cade confronted her. You're not just another prisoner. You were running from them. From something bigger. What aren't you telling me? She didn't answer right away. Then, with that same calm fire in her voice, she said, because I saw what they did. She told him everything. Her planet wasn't just raided. It was tested. The Dominion had released a biosynthetic parasite designed to manipulate behavior, amplify aggression, and make the population easy to control. It didn't work. At least not as planned. Her people resisted. Fought back. But they didn't just resist, they adapted. Some, like Rylith, developed psychic defenses. She could sense intention. Read neural pulses. That's why she'd been so good at escaping, at knowing things before they happened. The Dominion wanted to study her. Dissect her. Replicate her. You're a weapon to them, Cade said, stunned. I'm a threat, she replied. Because I survived. The knowledge put a new target on both their backs. Not just bounty hunters now, but Dominion agents. Spies. Assassins. They couldn't run forever. So they stopped. They found refuge on Urox 3, a mining moon-turned dead zone. No active trade. No records. Just ice and silence. There, in an abandoned tunnel complex, they built something close to peace. For a time. They talked more. Laughed, even. Cade showed her how to play holochess. She taught him how to resist neural scans. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were becoming something else. One night, under the pale auroras of Urox's sky, Rylith asked, "Why did you really buy me?" Cade didn't answer for a long while. Then, "Because you were the only one who didn't look broken." That night, she kissed him. No words. Just the weight of everything they'd been through, and everything they still feared. Peace didn't last. The Dominion tracked them. It started with static on the comms. Then a drone, cloaked, hovering outside the cave. Rylith took it down, but it was a scout. "We have to leave," she said, already packing. "Now." Cade hesitated. "They'll never stop. Then we take the fight to them." That was the moment everything changed. They weren't fugitives anymore. They were soldiers. Rylith had coordinates. A Dominion lab hidden beneath the oceans of Valari Prime. That's where the original parasite was created. Where the experiments began. Where her people were first betrayed. It was suicide. But Cade agreed. Not for glory. Not even for revenge. For her. They left Urox 3 under cover of a magnetic storm. The **** barely held together. But in the silence between jumps, in the quiet moments before everything would fall apart, Cade realized something terrifying and beautiful. He wasn't afraid anymore. Because for the first time in his life, he had something worth fighting for. And she wasn't just untamable. She was unstoppable. Ahead, Valari Prime waited. And the war they didn't start, but would damn sure finish, was just beginning. The descent into Valari Prime was like falling into a grave. Beneath layers of toxic storm clouds and oceanic pressure systems, the Dominion's hidden lab lay buried in the crust of the seafloor, out of sight, out of law, out of reach for most of the galaxy. But not for them. Not for Rylith. She sat at the helm, eyes focused, hands steady. Cade could see it in her posture. This wasn't vengeance. This was duty. She wasn't hunting ghosts. She was coming home, not to reclaim anything, but to end it. And Cade? He'd followed her this far. There was no going back now. They breached the planet's atmosphere in silence. The **** rattled and groaned, its systems screaming under the pressure. The deep-sea landing pod, cobbled together from salvaged escape tech, launched from the cargo bay and plummeted into the black waters like a bullet. They sank fast. Too fast. "Stabilizers," Cade shouted, fighting with the controls. Rylith was already rerouting power. Manual override. Brace. The pod slammed into the sea floor with bone-jarring force. Alarms screamed, but the hull held. Just barely. Cade exhaled. Rylith didn't even flinch. Outside the viewport, shadows moved, things too big to have names. This place wasn't just secret. It was hostile. Alive in the worst ways. They suited up and moved out. The lab's outer structure loomed in the murk like a sunken fortress. Half-organic plating fused with old Dominion alloys, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent veins. The main entry had no guards. No need. The ocean itself was a prison. Inside, the air was still. Cold. Artificial. Like the place had been waiting for them. Rylith led. Cade followed, weapon drawn. The deeper they went, the worse it got. Rows of chambers lined the walls, each one holding remnants of failed experiments, being spliced, mutated, or frozen mid-transformation. Some stared with empty eyes. Others had no faces left to show. "This is where they learned how to control minds," Rylith said, voice hollow. "But they never learned how to create strength. Only mimic it." Cade swallowed hard. "And your people? Test subjects. Disposable. Until we weren't." They reached the core of the facility. A control center wrapped in dark glass and endless screens. Standing at its center was a figure. Human. Or close enough. She wore a Dominion uniform, long coat trailing behind her like a shadow. Platinum hair pulled back tight. Eyes like frost. Rylith, she said calmly. You made it. Rylith stiffened. Dr. Valin. Cade raised his weapon. Valin didn't move. I knew you'd come back. It's in your blood. The instinct to complete what you started. Rylith snarled. You infected my world. No. I evolved it. The room lit up with security drones. Dozens. More than they could shoot. Valin nodded, and they closed in. Last chance, she said. Come with me. We'll end this war together. Rylith looked at Cade. No, she said, stepping forward. You'll never control me. The next moments were chaos. Cade laid down cover fire while Rylith moved like lightning, disabling drones with precision strikes. The lab shook with explosions as systems failed and alarms blared. Valin retreated. Deeper into the lab. Rylith followed. Cade wasn't far behind. They reached the final chamber, a reactor room pulsing with the Dominion's parasite core. A swirling, organic machine of light and madness. Valin stood by it, hands on the controls. This is the future, she said. With it, we can mold evolution. End chaos. Bring peace. You mean erase choice, Rylith growled. It's survival. No. It's domination. Rylith surged forward. Valin drew a neural blade. The fight was fast and brutal. Sparks flew. Metal shrieked. Blood spilled. Rylith took a slash to the ribs. Cade blasted a drone before it reached her. Valin fought with cold precision, enhanced reflexes guiding every strike. But she wasn't stronger. And she wasn't free. Rylith disarmed her, drove her into the core panel, and tore out the interface. Valin screamed as the reactor surged, destabilizing. Alarms wailed. You'll kill us all. Valin shrieked. That's the idea, Rylith said. Cade grabbed her. We've got 2 minutes, tops. They ran. The escape pod launched seconds before the core went critical. A shockwave tore through the ocean, boiling water into steam. The facility imploded, dragging decades of nightmares into the deep. Floating in silence above the wreckage, the pod hummed. Rylith leaned back, breathing hard. You okay? Cade asked. She looked at him. Eyes still fierce. But there was peace now. A weight lifted. I'm free. He smiled. Told you I wouldn't leave. She smirked. Then I guess we're not done yet. Above them, the stars waited. And for the first time, the galaxy didn't feel so cold. The **** drifted through the stars once more, its hull patched, its systems humming a quiet, familiar tune. They'd survived Valari Prime. The Dominion's core research had been obliterated. But the galaxy was still wide, still full of shadows. And yet, for the first time since this all began, Cade and Rylith weren't running. They were deciding. Weeks passed. Quiet ones. They kept to the fringe systems, places where Dominion flags didn't fly, where people still traded stories more than credits. Every tavern and outpost had its own tales now, of a rebel woman who destroyed a Dominion lab beneath the sea, of a human who sold everything to protect her. Most didn't believe them. That was fine. Rylith didn't need to be believed. She only needed to be free. Cade spent mornings recalibrating the ship's navigation. Evenings watching stars slip by. Rylith trained, body and mind. She meditated more now. And smiled more often. Their bond had changed. What started as a rescue, or maybe a purchase, had turned into something that didn't have a name. Love wasn't strong enough. It was something forged through fire and sharpened by survival. One day, a message came through the long-range comms. Not from the Dominion. Not a bounty. It was from Virexa. Her home. A signal raw and weak, but real. Some of us survived, it said. We're gathering. We want to fight. But we need a leader. Rylith listened in silence. Then she turned to Cade. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. They set course for Virexa the next hour. The journey was long. Old Dominion outposts were in ruins. Entire worlds had begun to rebel. The spark Rylith had lit hadn't gone unnoticed. Across the systems, people were rising, tired of chains, tired of fear. And when they reached Virexa, Cade saw what the stories never captured. A jungle world scarred but alive. Covered in thick, emerald-green canopies and shimmering violet rivers. Survivors emerged from the trees. Children. Elders. Warriors. And when they saw Rylith, they didn't bow. They stood taller. She spoke to them not as a ruler, but as one of them. She told them the truth. Of what she saw. What she survived. What she destroyed. And what still needed to be done. No more running. They would rebuild. Not just their cities. Their pride. Their place in the stars. And this time, they wouldn't be prey. Cade stayed. Helped build defenses. Set up training centers. Helped young warriors learn to fly, to shoot, to think tactically. Rylith led them, but never from above. She bled beside them. Worked beside them. She taught them to resist not just with weapons, but with will. One night, months later, as they sat beside a fire under Virex's twin moons, Rylith asked, "Do you ever regret it? Giving up everything for me?" Cade leaned back, fingers laced behind his head. "You weren't a gamble. You were a choice." She looked at him, eyes softer now. "And you?" He smiled. "I finally found a reason to matter. That's more than most get." Years passed. The Dominion fractured. Others rose to try and fill the vacuum, but they didn't last. Because people remembered. They remembered the untamable alien girl who tore through tyranny. The human who stood beside her. The planet that stood up when it was meant to kneel. And one by one, the chains broke. Freedom, they learned, wasn't given. It was fought for. Rylith and Cade never ruled. They didn't need to. They became legends not through conquest, but through resistance. And in the quiet moments, in the cool shade of Virex's trees, they found peace. Together. Moral ***. In a galaxy ruled by power and fear, it's not strength that defines you, it's what you do with it. Sometimes, the most dangerous people are the ones who refuse to be broken. And the bravest choice isn't to fight, but to stand beside someone when no one else will. Because love isn't weakness. And freedom isn't a gift. It's a choice. And sometimes, choosing someone, truly choosing them, is the first blow struck against an empire.